24 HRS after shooter ambushes Congress members, shocking list emerges that liberals don't want you to see. By now we all know the Congress baseball shooter was a deranged Bernie bro. He was one of the hundreds of thousands who bought into the lies and deception the 2016 presidential candidate from Vermont Bernie Sanders spews on a daily basis in his effort to divide America even further in order to fatten his own wallet. The so-called resist movement is actually a new take on divide and conquer. Where, after the win by the Republican candidate President Donald Trump, he and his family, even his 11-year-old son Barron, are attacked by scumbag leftists so politicians can raise funds for their own pockets. Because socialists gotta eat too. And Bernie really needed that luxurious beach home and that private jet he was gifted by the Democratic Party in exchange for his support for crooked Hillary Clinton during the 2016 Presidential Campaign.Problem is that in a nation where 1 in every 4 Americans suffers from some kind of mental disorder, using this rhetoric can become extremely dangerous, as we saw happen on that baseball field yesterday. Liberals Unite clearly illustrates the liberal resist movement. In a Friday interview with The Guardian, Senator Sanders said, "These are very scary times for the people of the United States, and, for the whole world. We have a president who is a pathological liar. Trump lies all of the time. And Sanders believes the lying is not accidental, he lies in order to undermine the foundations of American democracy." Sanders isn't pulling any punches when it comes to expressing his opinion of the current White House resident. And despite losing the Democratic Party primary and watching his endorsed candidate, Hillary Clinton, overrun in the Electoral College vote, Sanders isn't taken it lying down, either. If anything, he seems to be more energized, and more outspoken, in the resistance against some of the most de-evolutionary policies that the county has seen in a decade. Sanders is painting a dystopian picture of the Trump presidency. What Trump, wants is to end up as leader of a nation that has moved a significant degree towards authoritarianism, where the President of the United States has extraordinary powers, far more than our Constitution has provided for. Sanders, who calls himself a progressive rather than a liberal, says he's been active in the confirmation process for Trump's nominations and is promising to give no quarter when Neil Gorsuch seeks confirmation for the U.S. Supreme Court. Sanders says he's not happy with Gorsuch's hints that he would open up the political process to influx of even more private cash. But even more interesting than what Bernie Sanders is willing to tell interviewers or post on his Facebook page are his quiet sorties across the country into red states to build his progressive movement. According to Sanders, the Democrats have lost touch with working Americans. Even though he's technically an independent, Sanders wants to return the power of the Democratic Party back over to the working and middle class, rather than party insiders and liberal elites. Sanders told The Guardian, "The platform of the Democratic Party doesn't go as far as I would like, but I worked on it with Clinton and it is far and away the most progressive platform in the history of American politics." Sanders has been traveling the country, largely unnoticed by the big DC machine, attending rallies, speaking to his still loyal supporters and urging them to resist. Bernie Sanders wasn't spouting hyperbole when he urged revolution. "My job is to substantially increase the number of people participating in the political process. We've been quite successful in this, getting more and more people to run for office. That's what I'm focusing on. And Republicans are feeling the pressure of an empowered population." Recently, many Republican Congress members were afraid to hold town halls and meet and greets with their constituents due to the Indivisible movement, which suggests progressives use plays from the Tea Party handbook to destabilize the current GOP stranglehold in American politics. The resistance movement, nurtured and inspired by progressives like Bernie Sanders, is becoming as much a part of the everyday American political conversation as the Tea Party did a decade ago. According to the Huffington Post, Sanders has been traveling to the heartland since January, visiting Mississippi, Kansas, and Michigan, all Trump strongholds, in order to connect with working Americans who have been disillusioned by the Democratic Party, and will most likely be used by the Republican Party. Next week, Sanders is heading to McDowell County, West Virginia, to speak and tape a show with Chris Hayes of MSNBC. Sanders says these are areas of the country where Democrats have shown an enormous amount of neglect.